Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Emma Williams. I'm the Vice Chair for Urban Partners, and welcome to the Urban Partners Youth Career Expo. A couple of housekeeping points just to start off with. There is no fire test expected, so if you do hear a fire alarm, please listen to the announcements, and when directed, obviously proceed to the nearest fire exit. Don't use the lifts. Please exit the building and pay attention to where the marshals tell you to go to. There's no smoking on site, and obviously do not leave the event space, please, unless attended by a Google member of staff. Okay, so just a little bit of an introduction, really. Urban Partners, we're a voluntary business partnership that cover King's Cross, Euston and St Pancras area, going across both Islington and Camden. We've got 17 core businesses that make up the board and the exec, and then we've got over 40 other businesses that provide a free membership to help us really achieve our objectives. One of our key priorities when we established ourselves was about how we support and engage with what we call the next generation. So this is people of absolutely your generation, and how do we really get involved with you so that you understand what it is that we as businesses can do together with you. Making sure that really the community benefits from having such a vast array of businesses, small and large, on your doorstep. This whole area has obviously changed quite significantly. We do a number of things as part of the next generation. We have the Homework Club, which has been going strong now and provides space for you for quiet study, as well as a masterclass programme to help you both with tutoring in some of your core subjects, and also broader things around the work environment, such as I think you've just had Gary at LNER teaching you the best tips about how to do an interview. So really anything that we can impart through those. This is the second year that we've done this Youth Careers Expo. We really wanted to use it as an opportunity as to how we convey the breadth of businesses that are on your doorstep, and also knowing, exactly what career opportunities are available. When we first looked at doing this, I think the sort of what we talked about in the boardroom was, you don't just work for Eurostar if you want to be a train driver. There's so many other career options available with each different industry, with each different organisation. And I think it was important that we said, well, how do people coming through from school and college know what those opportunities are? So that was why this was founded last year. It was a success, and hence why we've done it this year around. It's a great opportunity. Ask as many questions as possible. Get to understand what qualifications you need, what you don't necessarily need to do in order to progress in your chosen field, and hopefully get some advice, some great leading businesses. Finally, I would just like to say a thank you to Google, who are one of our board members, for hosting. I'm sure you'll all agree it's a fantastic space, and I'm hoping all of you have enjoyed a bit of the free food that's been going on outside. And now I'd like to hand over to Andrew Jack, who is the education editor for the FT, who's going to chair our panel today, which is made up of both Islington and Camden Council and a number of our urban partners. So thank you very much.
Great, thanks Emma. Welcome. I hope everyone's having a good time. They've had some very interesting discussions and some good food. We've got about an hour, actually about 50 minutes, with some great people who are going to talk a bit about different careers. I should say you might not be familiar with the FT, the Financial Times, but we're probably broader than you think. We have a lot of different sorts of content, and we think also in terms of both helping you with studies, but also preparing you for careers. The FT can be a great read. And what's more, for schools, it's free. So you can all get your schools to sign up and get access to our content as you start to think about careers ahead and advice and preparing for interviews and so on. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to ask each of the panelists to just very briefly introduce who they are, where they're from, and maybe then have a quick round of questions and then own it up to you, because this is what it's all about. We really want to hear from you. So don't be shy. Come up with all sorts of questions you've got about careers, university, whether you should go straight away, work experience, sorts of things you should do and how to prepare for them. So why don't we start down here?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Zen Mumtaz. I'm from Lendlease. We are a massive international construction property development organisation. Currently, we're actually building Google's European headquarters just across the road. You've probably walked past the hoarding. And we have projects everywhere. Within Camden and Islington at the moment, we've got quite a few projects, and kind of in the future as well, we're also named as the guys that will be doing the Euston redevelopment. So a lot of work coming into the area and therefore a lot of opportunity.
So I'm Sam Webster. I am a talent acquisition specialist. I work for Eurostar. So we are based in St Pancras, just across the road. But also our head offices are just the other side of King's Cross. So we're very local as well. We run train services from London to Paris or London to Brussels, Amsterdam. You can even go straight to Disneyland if you want. And like I said, it's not just train drivers that we're looking for, but people of all different skills and different types of jobs.
Hi everyone, my name is Maya. I'm from Google, so welcome you all. I hope you're enjoying the event. I'm an apprenticeships program manager, so I look after our apprenticeship offerings. I don't know if you saw our stand, but we have 3 apprenticeships that we're offering at the moment: digital marketing, IT, and software development. So it's not all about engineering roles.
Hi, I'm Ermi. I'm from Camden Council. I'm a resource advisor, and I don't know how much you guys know about what the council offer, but we have loads of different services, from adult social care, parks and green spaces, finance, IT. As I said, I'm the resource advisor, and I specialise in sort of central services like HR, legal, IT and finance. So there's always loads and loads of opportunities at the council.
Hi everyone, I'm Selina Begum and I'm the Head of Resourcing for Springer Nature. I look after all the recruitment for the UK, and I have a team of 7, and we recruit about 750 permanent roles a year across editorial and publishing, technology, HR, finance, digital marketing, etc. etc. And you probably might not have heard about us before, but we're an educational global publishing company with 13,000 employees across the world.
Amazing. Hi everyone, I'm Lauren Jones and I'm a Group Business Director at Havas Group. We're an advertising, media and creative agency. We've got lots of different types of specialisms in the business. So everything from TV ads to production to things that you see on Google, Facebook, Instagram. It's massive. It's a global company with 40,000 people, I think it is, across the world. Recently we've joined Vivendi, which owns Universal, and Gameloft. I think it's Gameloft, someone corrected me earlier on. So it's a really, really huge group. We've got, I believe, some apprenticeships and some internships going. So I think some of you have already left your details with us.
Good. I am Andrea Stark. I'm a director with Islington Council. And my remit is employment, and that includes supporting our residents to get work, youth employment, careers, apprenticeships. I also look after skills and culture. I run the libraries, museums and arts in Islington. So it's a really, really broad brief. And as the colleague from Camden said, looking after a place, everything you can think of that happens on your doorstep probably has something to do with the council. Everything from cradle to grave. And that's what makes it very interesting, the variety. And I'm going to ask you later on to guess what I started out doing and ended up to get to this job, okay?
Oh, that's a good challenge.
So thanks, and actually that's a great connection, because I was going to just ask you all briefly before we open it up, just kind of, think back to when you were just about to leave school, and what were the choices in front of you, and what was the best sort of advice you got about, what to do next and why?
Yeah, I think starting off, so I started part-time working when I was 16, and I think that's the most important thing. If you can, get a part-time job, get a Saturday job, just do something. It could be something completely unrelated to what you're doing now, but it's just that experience of the working world. So a few of my first jobs were, I worked in Domino's Pizza, answering calls, dealing with complaints. People get very angry about pizza if you don't. So it kind of gets you in the, in the spirit of the working world. You understand how to deal with people, and to do that. I also was a debt collector at one point, again, dealing with a lot of different people. And I think more so than anything, although it's completely unrelated to what I'm doing now, it's just understanding those transferable skills and actually identifying, picking those things up. So how to deal with different types of people, how to speak to people, how to engage. All of those things are really, really invaluable that you can use in anything. So I think more so than anything, that was what I would say to you.
And Sam, did you think you'd be joining Eurostar when you were leaving school?
No, not really, which is surprising because I went to secondary school in France. I lived there, but I never considered working for Eurostar at any time. It was, for some strange reason, it wasn't something that came to mind. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to come back to England and probably to London. And I worked out, well, I sat down with my dad and he said, well, what don't you want to do? And that was an easier decision to make. There was lots of things I didn't want to do, and it made the decision of what I chose to do later a lot better. But also, while studying, I did do some work. I worked in a factory, packing plastic bottles, night shifts, weekends. Just a good opportunity to get to learn about the ways of working and maybe what you don't like. I know that I didn't like doing that either. And it's kind of how I came towards Eurostar. I did a history degree at university. And I don't do history, but there's lots of information to look into. You get lots of the people skills and listening to people and dealing with people. And I think that's the most important thing is the people. You go down one route, but that's not the only route that you'll ever go down. There's lots of different ways.
Wow.
In my case, I never even kind of dreamt of working for Google. You'll hear that from almost everyone in this building because you don't even think it would be possible, so you never kind of put it as an option. I studied psychology, so obviously within that I thought there wouldn't be any route into Google anyway, not an obvious one. However, I did a lot of volunteering projects when I was in university. I worked throughout university, so I was in recruiting for a while, then I was helping international students study abroad. And within that, I started working on educational projects, which is what I'm doing at the moment. So I would definitely say kind of have a wider range of interests and topics, do a lot of kind of volunteering, getting involved in projects. I was mentioning to a few people I was talking at the stand earlier, one of the things we look for across all roles at Google, it doesn't really matter if it's technical or not, is the evidence for your passion. So we're trying to see that, you know, if you're interested in marketing, what are you doing within that to show your passion? And that's exactly what I was doing through my volunteering and my work. So find the type of jobs that show the passion you're interested for, and that will take you far.
Right. Ami.
So I started out on a graduate scheme at Camden Council, and it was in HR, and I never studied HR. I had no idea what HR was when I was at school. So I think one of my biggest advice is just to not be so rigid and think you're going to go a certain path and end in that area, because you never know where jobs can take you. So I graduated 3 years ago now, and then I was on the graduate scheme for about a year. I was studying as well while I was on that scheme, so I got qualifications in human resources. And then it's more about like learning how to communicate with lots of different audiences and showing your passion. And then the opportunities come to you really, and you got to grab them when they're there. Because I never thought I was going to end up in recruitment, and I'm going to move to another role soon. So it's by grabbing an opportunity, you never know what you can gain from it.
I really had no idea what I wanted to do. I studied art, I studied chemistry and biology at A level, and I thought I'd do chemistry at university. And anyone who studied the Krebs cycle can understand that learning that really killed my desire for it. So I went to a taster day and I learned about doing psychology. So I decided to do that as a degree, and like a lot of people on this panel, I had call centre jobs, other selling things, kinds of jobs, all kinds of jobs. But what I learned from those jobs was communicating with people, and also they're good because you talk to people that you wouldn't normally talk to in your circle, so it's quite good for expanding your network. And I think that's really key, is actually going out there and talking to people that you don't know, build on your communication skills, because really networking is really important, because I don't know if you know, apparently 70% of jobs aren't actually advertised and they're filled through knowing people, and that doesn't really sound fair, especially in this world. But if you can, you know, get those skills, really use that to get ahead.
Okay, Lauren.
So I think I'm like you. I was completely confused. I had quite a difficult upbringing as well. I studied computing and wasn't sure if I was going to be a programmer. That was a really real option back then. I'm very old. I don't look it, I know, but I'm really, really old. And when I studied programming, it was really difficult. So these days you've got like programs that allow you to code really quickly. You can kind of find errors in your code really quickly. It basically does it for you. When I learned, you had to kind of go through lines and lines of code to find out it was a full stop that was messing up your whole code. So it was really demoralizing, and I thought, I'm not doing this. And then I stumbled upon digital. So I was quite entrepreneurial. When I was younger, I had my own website. I used to do events with family members, music as well. So I kind of created my own website myself, and then stumbled on this thing called digital SEO and paid search. And I thought, I'm quite good at this because I've got that technical brain from studying programming. And I then kind of stumbled into lots of different jobs in the industry. I'm quite fortunate to have worked with lots of different agencies, lots of different brands. And it's quite sad to see that a lot of, especially people from ethnic backgrounds, don't really get to understand or to know that this industry exists, because I didn't know. I had no clue what advertising was. And then when I did know, I was like, oh, right, that's kind of like an everyday thing. So what you were saying about networking is really, really important. If you don't know people, just try and reach out to people. Try and speak to your schools, your colleges, and just ask them to kind of get that information for you. Programs like this are great because it exposes you to things like this. So yeah, it was quite an unconventional sort of track, but yeah, here I am.
Very good.
Andrea, do you want to reveal yet, or do you want to?
Oh, should I do well, I'm clearly, my accent will tell you I'm not from this part of the country, but I've worked down here for a long time. So like everyone on this panel, I was working from about the age of 15, mainly because I wanted money, my own money for clothes and makeup. I didn't know what to do. My immediate family was long-term unemployed, so there wasn't a conversation about, and what did you do and what should I do? And in fact, if it's any consolation about careers advice, the 2 trips I was taken on by the school was a trip to a cigarette factory and a trip to a machinist factory where, you know, you do the machining to make clothes. So I thought that's what my options were. But what I like to do that on the side, which I discovered completely by accident, was I really like drama and I like playing in bands. And so I was hugely embarrassed, but I went to the careers office and said, are there any courses I can do in drama? I've got to have a full grant and I don't want to leave Newcastle. And they only found me 1 course. And I suppose the first random moment of my life was I thought I'd applied to do drama at a place called Darlington in County Durham. Okay, don't know if you know your geography, which is about half an hour from where I used to live. In fact, by accident, because I was so embarrassed I didn't quite read things properly, I'd applied to Dartington College of Arts in Totnes in South Devon.
Oh my God.
And I've never been past Durham on the train. I'd never, ever been outside the northeast. And because it was the only place I applied for and I got in, I thought, well, I'll just do it. I'll just do it. And so I spent 4 years learning how to act and direct and write. And then at the end of that course, I knew my friends, but I still didn't know how to get a job. And there was no jobs in the northeast. So I went to London, stayed with a friend's mum until I got a part-time job working in a young people's theatre company. So for years and years and years, I did theatre with young people in different parts of London. And then I again stumbled on these jobs back in the north of England a long time ago to do what was called arts development. No idea what it was, but there were 6 of them advertised. So I applied for all 6. And the first one I got interviewed for, I got. And that job taught me about setting up charities and setting up charities in poor areas where there was lots of unemployment and arts and creativity could be used to help people. And I did that for about on and off, in and out of charities. And then someone invited me to apply for a job with a council. And so I started working in councils up and down the country in Scotland, dipping in and out of that and charity work. And here I am doing this job now. So what can I tell you? Networking came very late for me. I always felt that I didn't quite know the communities that I was getting involved in. And I can network on behalf of a project, but when it's networking yourself, it's really embarrassing. But you get confident as you get a bit older. I'd say, don't be fixed in your views. Say yes to everything and anything, because what's the worst that can happen? It's a long life. And I went on to higher education as an escape, very, very genuinely, and because it was free. And I think that these days, even though they're hidden, the options, higher education and other options, are definitely out there to a much greater extent than I understood them.
Great, okay. So we've got tons of different variety of employers, public and private and non-profit, and people who've changed their jobs over the years in many ways. So over to you now. Who'd like to ask a question? Don't be shy. Who'd like to go first? Go on. Yeah, please.
Could you talk more about yourself?
About me? So yeah, so I started at, I was at school, and I was always really interested in international affairs. Journalism around the world. I always used to listen to the BBC, and so because I also got the message that, you know, the way you get hired is to write stuff and show that you've written stuff, I was already starting to do at school a lot of student journalism, writing articles and stuff. Then I decided university made sense, and there again I was studying my course. I did geography, but I also was doing quite a lot of student journalism, and I made links to the local BBC and some other outlets and did things with them. That I dabbled in a couple of different things, a bit of academic research and a bit of consulting and a bit of working for city government, actually in America. I was living in America for a couple of years. And then at that point, the FT, quite a long time ago, offered me a job. So I came back to London. I spent 4 years in London writing about business and about politics and finance. And then I went to France for 4 years. Then I was in Moscow for 6 years. Then I was writing about healthcare for about 7 years and global health issues and development. And then I was launching a whole series of newsletters and working on a bit more on the tech side, developing new products for the FT. And then I just started this education role a few months ago, which is a mixture of writing about education around the world at all levels, and also developing closer relationships with our readers, including schools, the next generation, you know, and how important we think it is to think about how people interact with news and what more we can do to make what we're writing useful. So I spent a lot of time at one single company, but the whole business, the whole sector of journalism has changed completely from basically print to completely online. Lots of changes in the sorts of things I've written about, but always that idea of basically, you know, going out, constantly learning, meeting new people and organizations, and then creatively turning it into articles. So that's me, and happy to talk more about journalism, but we've also got engineering, local government, all sorts of different stuff. Yeah, please.
This question is directed towards all panel members. So do you feel like when in society everyone has the goals of being in high-end jobs such as lawyers and politicians, do you feel like society could reach a point when menial jobs, such as garbage picking and stuff like that, could become more desirable?
Okay, so yes, so the tension between higher end and maybe lower skilled jobs and what the future is. You might want to comment on that.
Yeah. So a lot of people do. They want the higher jobs because there's maybe higher money or responsibilities. But for a lot of people, a job is a way for them. They need to work to pay for their mortgage or for their family, and what they care about most is their family and what they can do in their spare time. So not everybody wants to go that far. Not everybody wants those levels of responsibilities. And imagine if everybody did. Imagine if everybody wanted to be Prime Minister, or everybody wanted to be a top lawyer. The society wouldn't be able to work. So when we're recruiting, we recruit for all levels, and we recruit in the same way for all of them, because each job is important for us. And if somebody's happy in that level of role, then that's perfect. Opportunities may be there for others who want to go further, but there's no pressure on them to do so.
Who else wants to come in? Yeah.
I think it's more about what would satisfy you in a job. So I think a lot of people, as you get older, it's not really about money. It's about, you know, what your values are. And if you identify that at a younger age, and think about what exactly you want to get out of life and not think about a career and a pay check at the end of the month, you can kind of identify what kind of role you want to go into. Like when I started out, I didn't really want to go into a senior role or anything like that. I just wanted to get a job. And then when you start working and you start, you know, being on a graduate scheme, I got to move around lots of different teams. So there was lots of areas that I didn't like. There were certain things that I didn't enjoy about a certain role. And sometimes doing those roles are actually really useful to help you identify what you do like, forgetting the salary and forgetting how, if it's, whether that's, you know, being a librarian or being a CEO, like it's up to you what you enjoy and then let that guide you.
Anybody else? They come in?
I think in something like a local council, that role that you described as me is a really important role. And actually, I think probably it's a secure role. If you work in certainly our council, there's really good benefits. And I think genuinely there's a degree of respect for those people who are on the front line day in, day out, doing those jobs in all weathers. So certainly in my organisation, we respect every role that everyone plays because it makes the whole place hang together. And I think the world would be a terrible place if everyone was a lawyer trying to be Prime Minister. It would be really good.
Can I say something more?
Yeah.
To branch off of that, but I feel like there's definitely, on the other hand of what you said, there's definitely a stigma about jobs such as garbage picking and menial jobs. So do you feel like from a sociological aspect that these jobs should be non-stigmatized?
Yeah, I very, very much so. So for me, those are the kind of jobs that are very important in our society. And if people see them as kind of menial or not important, then that's wrong. And we should do more to change the perception. And certainly, as I say, in my organisation, we really, really value what we describe as frontline roles that make a huge difference to people, like that role. Yeah.
And casting it another way, I mean, I suppose the other thing to say would be like, you know, there's a lot of jobs that obviously automation, computing and stuff might threaten, but a lot of like the real practical skills and the craft skills, you know, and plumbing and all sorts of frontline jobs and interacting with members of the public, if you're in the public sector or whatever, are going to kind of always be incredibly important and much more difficult to automate as well.
Yeah. And in this part, there's a piece of work that's been undertaken in central London to look at what kind of jobs will be here into the future. And there are areas of work that they call middle skilled occupations, which are some of the technical roles, the hands-on roles, and quite a number of them are going to survive automation. And actually, we want to cherish some of those roles. So, you know, some of the technical roles in some of the scientific industries nearby, they don't need a degree. It's an excellent way to go through apprenticeship. Some of the roles in creative don't necessarily need a degree. It's about getting experience on the job as soon as possible. And the shape of what's to come in terms of jobs in and around this part of London is going to be some of the legal jobs, some particularly paralegals, they're going to get automated. So some of the things that looked safe bets, have a close look. Yeah.
Great. Who else would like to come in?
Yeah.
Sorry, is there one at the back?
Yeah, my question's for Maya. Is Google a like creative institution to sort of work for? Like, do they encourage like critical thinking?
Yes, definitely. That actually spans across all of our roles. So again, it doesn't matter whether you're an engineer in technical fields or in any other type of job. We have a lot of internal trainings, for example. So even I, although I'm not, again, technical, I didn't kind of come into the field through the regular pathway. We're encouraged to definitely innovate, and sometimes innovation doesn't have to be completely new. It can be just kind of incremental steps into making your job better. So making it faster, maybe requiring more people with different skills. So kind of bringing that diversity of thought. So definitely, yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, who else? Yep, please, yeah.
Hi, I'm Islington Youth Councillor, and I just wanted to know if any of you are offering work experience, and if you could explain that, please.
Yeah, so I think particularly from Lend-Lease, it's something we do very often. It's something we do all the time. You'll find that for us and for a lot of other employers, it's not necessarily advertised. The best way to go about it is events like this, networking, so getting email addresses, speaking to people directly. You'll find that you'll have more chance of work experience if you've spoken to someone. Also, if you understand what it is you want to get out of the experience, we work with quite a lot of schools to do work experience, but we find that sometimes individuals are doing it because they think they should be doing it. So definitely do your research beforehand, but particularly for Lend-Lease, have a little look online, have a little look at what we actually offer. You know, come and speak to myself afterwards. We can actually send you details, and actually if you follow up on that, be a bit proactive. There's no reason as to why you can't kind of move forward with that. That's it.
I think it's really important if you know what you do want to get out of some work experience, because we do get a lot of requests for work experience, and we have to go and speak to the teams and who are able to have people. And if they see somebody who's engaged and wanting to learn and get involved, and will be able to take that and make use of that afterwards. It's not just work experience just because I feel like I should do some work. It's work experience because I think that's what I want to be doing later on, and it's a chance to get a taste of it. So apply to do your research and look in the areas that might be of interest to you, or you think you could be interested in. You may come out of some work experience knowing that you don't want to do it, but it's having that time and that experience and asking the questions. Look on LinkedIn, find people, contact them, see on a website if there's a recruitment address that you can contact. All these different ways just to get your name out there. And it may be, there's not an opportunity straight away, but your details have come through to maybe the right people for later. If you're on our radar, there could be other opportunities in the future as well.
We don't actually offer work experiences, unfortunately. Our kind of first role that you can apply for are apprenticeships after you finish school. However, we have different programs like open house events or competitions that you can apply for. So for example, one of them opened, I think, on Friday. It's called the Google Code-In competition. So if you're interested in coding, it's addressed to students between the ages of 13 to 17. And then one thing that we see quite a lot on the CV of applicants for apprenticeships is actually work experience through, for example, family friends. If you have someone in your circle or your parents' circle that is doing a job that you're thinking about, you could shadow them for a day. So just go to their office and kind of see what they do and have a chat about what the role is about, meet other people who do similar roles. So it doesn't always have to be formal. It can sometimes just be an informal chat with people who are currently doing the role. And that will help you get a step closer to where you want to be.
I think work experience is obviously really good if you can get it, and I did a bit of it. I did for a few days. I sat in watching somebody in an accountancy firm, which convinced me I didn't want to be an accountant, so it was pretty useful. I did some other stuff that was much more interesting and did inspire me. But also, yeah, as people were saying, I think voluntary work as well, with working with charities can be really a good way to build up ideas and to stand out on a CV and to have stuff to talk about in interviews for jobs. The FT has a few internships available, some in editorial, some in other bits of the organisation, the business side and tech and so on. And you can find all of those on the website. We work particularly with the Social Mobility Foundation to try and get to underrepresented groups in particular.
So at Camden, we do offer work experience. There are a few windows in the year that we offer them. If you go onto our website and search camden.gov.uk/jobs, it will come up, and last year we had a work experience student in the resourcing team for 2 weeks, and they rotated across HR, different teams in HR. There's lots of departments that offer work experience, so it is just about putting your name, contacting the right departments and seeing what could be on offer. And it is really about what you want to get out of it. I remember when I was at school, I did work experience in a clothing shop, which wasn't very beneficial for me, but I guess it was my first taste of what work really looks like. I think what I enjoyed more so is when I went out and I found like a voluntary baking class in my local community in Camden. I did that for a year regularly. And that's what kind of inspired me to apply for a job in the council, because I saw the difference that it was making to even the youngest people in our community. So yeah, definitely go out there and be proactive.
We do offer different types of work experience. It just depends on what you're interested in, because we've got lots of different kinds of brands and all different kinds of jobs. So like someone suggested on the panel, have a look at the websites and email any recruitment addresses and show your interest that way. Not all of us have friends or family that we can shadow, so definitely use these kinds of opportunities to actually network and find out more about people. We had somebody do work experience in our team, and she was fabulous. She actually helped me on a Twitter project on how to recruit people that way. So I feel like we both learnt from each other.
So we've got quite a few internships and apprenticeships going. I'm not sure what schemes are running at the moment, but if you go on LinkedIn, I second the LinkedIn thing, and look for people that have recruitment or HR in their titles. They're actually quite open to people communicating with them, message them. Twitter is a good way as well, so if you know people's Twitter handles, tweet at them. My colleagues are outside, so you guys, I think quite a few people have left their names and email addresses and what they're interested in, but there's so many different things going on. So we've got 25 different agencies within Havas, and it covers multiple different disciplines. So if one agency doesn't have anything, another one probably will, and the internships are rolling, so they don't stop. So yeah, just keep getting in touch, really.
We have apprenticeships, and what we also do is encourage local employers to offer Saturday jobs, which is a phrase, but it doesn't have to be on a Saturday. It's paid experience of work. And Hamish, stick your hand up, Hamish. If you want to talk to Hamish, who heads up our youth employment work, about apprenticeships, Saturday jobs, also we work with a lot of employers to organise and support their relationships with local schools where they have work experience to offer. So Hamish is a good person to speak to if you're in and around Islington.
Okay, thanks. Who else? Yes, one over there, please, and then there.
Oh, hello, my name's Bilal. I came to ask, in all the industries, how's the promotion like? Is it organic based, or how does the promotion run within the businesses?
That's a really good question. I can start, I don't mind. Yeah. So in our industry, it's quite rapid. We've got lots of fast track programs. I think I might have been talking to you, Bilal, earlier on. Hi. It really depends on your character and how much tenacity you've got. Advertising especially sees people move fast really quickly. Some people too quickly, but it's a really, really good industry if you want to progress. And it really is down to you as the individual. The great thing about this industry as well is that movement is encouraged. So experiencing other agencies, experiencing other brands, because you find that some agencies work with particular industries and you might get bored. So it's important to kind of move around to get as much experience as possible. And as you move around, you have the opportunity to command more money. You can leverage your experience from your different companies. So it's in my industry anyway, it's quite rapid.
Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, so within construction engineering, absolutely, there's a world of growth. If you look around, especially within London, there's massive opportunity. Things are always being built, and although people are often put off by that, there is a lot of opportunity within that. So within the industry, just generally, there's lots of training. There's a huge skills shortage, so it's really, really encouraged to actually get involved. and not only Lend-Lease, but a lot of organisations will work with you to advance you, to get you the training that you need, and actually just develop you. So,
Yep. Within Eurostar, we advertise every vacancy internally, so that's open for anybody who could be interested. And to allow this, we also encourage shadowing. So if you're working, you see another position that you're interested in, it's encouraged to go and speak to that person, see if you can spend some time with them, get to know about the job that they're doing, ask around. The recruitment team is available to help with any interview skills, also looking at CVs, because sometimes if you've been in a role for a few years, you've not interviewed for a while, and you're only going to go for a job that you want internally. Our apprenticeship schemes, you go through the scheme and come out at a higher level than maybe an entry-level candidates would, and the same with the graduate schemes as well. And the whole point, you go through, it's a 2-year fast-track scheme, you get an experience of different parts of the business, and you come out at a much higher level than other people would do.
Anybody else want to come in on that? No?
I'll say, so at my company, it really depends on the individual and what they actually do. So some people have become team leaders from being a graduate a year ago. Some other people have been quite happy with what they've been doing. So it really depends on what you want. And as my colleague on the panel said, we also advertise all our jobs internally, and we really encourage people to make lateral moves. So we do things like internal networking, fairs. We also offer coaching and lots of resources to help people think about their next step in their career. So it doesn't have to always be about upwards. You can also make internal career changes as well.
At Camden, there's loads of opportunities to progress. As I said, I started on a graduate scheme in 2016. So that scheme was initially meant to be 2 years for me, and you were getting a qualification as well in HR, a CIPD. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of that. You probably haven't, because I never heard of it when I was at school either. But I got qualified and I got off the graduate scheme a year in. I moved into recruitment, and I've done that for about a year, and now I'm moving to another role, to do with organisational development and employee engagement. So my roles have been really, really different, and that's been in the space of about 2.5 years. So if you've got that motivation and drive, and you're willing to put yourself out there to more senior people across the organisation and build up your visibility, lots of opportunities come your way.
Great. Okay, there's another question. Yep, where are we? Yep.
Hi, my question just to the whole panel is kind of, you all have mentioned that you do apprenticeships. I just wanted to know what the range was, just from the lowest level to the highest level of apprenticeships that you do, please, if that's possible.
Mm-hmm. Wants to go?
We do apprenticeships at lots of different levels. I guess the most important thing to say in terms of coming in as an apprentice to Islington Council is that we pay London Living Wage. Am I right, Hamish? And I think that's a really important benefit, because apprenticeship wages are pretty small. But nearly every part of the council now is offering apprenticeships. So manual trades, HR, teaching, there's a whole range of things. It's getting bigger and bigger almost by the day.
So I don't have the specific details for the apprenticeships that we run, but fortunately my colleagues, who are both in HR and recruitment, are just outside, so they're the ones that like set them up, so like just to cost them.
We're at the beginning of rolling out apprentices, so I have 2 apprentices in my team, and next year we're hoping to roll them out across editorial and publishing, as well as finance and technology, sales and marketing. So that's a work in progress for us.
At Camden, and like all, I think a lot of, I don't know if it's all organisations or public sector, we're under the apprenticeship levy, so it's not just entry-level apprenticeships that we now offer. So there's lots of intermediate, degree level, master's level equivalent apprenticeships that are available. I'm not 100% sure whether they're available directly externally, but once you're in, you can progress. They're offered in loads of different areas, like legal, business support, finance, adult social care. Lots of different services offer these apprenticeships. So yeah.
We offer 2 apprenticeships at level 3, the one in infrastructure technician, so IT, and the other one in digital marketing. They are both 15 to 18 months long, and we have a level 4 software development apprenticeship as well. So that one comes with an apprenticeship qualification at the end of it, plus a foundation degree, so equivalent to 2 years of university.
So Eurostar has had an engineering apprenticeship scheme for, I believe, over 20 years. And every single year we've had people, the chap who runs the apprenticeship scheme used to be an apprentice himself at our train depot. And it's a 4-year course. We take people from GCSE level onwards. It's a 4-year course. You come out with full qualifications, and our apprentices are classed as employees. So there's a full benefits, and the contract continues, and you go straight in at our engineer level 2. So it goes from 1 to 4.
So within Lend-Lease, we have quite a structured degree-level apprenticeship programme, focusing mainly on commercial management and construction management. However, we also work really closely with our supply chain for those entry-level roles as well. So we'll work with them to advertise those roles and make sure that we're doing all that we can to support that as well.
Thanks. Okay. Who else have we got? Over there, yeah. Was it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Was it my question now? Okay. Thank you very much for putting on something like this, and I think it's a really good opportunity for young people to come and hear all the opportunities from different organisations that are available to them. One of the questions I wanted to ask the panel, but particularly Andrew, because I'm not really quite sure on your role. Maybe I wasn't here for that part, but I wanted to know how you're tapping in to the 16 to 18 market, because I'm hearing so much of these opportunities, yet so many of them are hidden, like you said. A lot of them are advertised externally. I know that you've been saying, go on to LinkedIn, go on. For me, in education, I'm in education, I'm a lecturer, and a lot of our students don't have accessibility to these. So my question was, how are you tapping into that target? How are you getting young people to come to these events? Because I'm looking around me, and it might be because of the time of the day. They don't do evenings. But I know that we've had to drag students out here today. So how are you tapping into that young market? What are you doing individually?
You asking Andrea to start?
I'm asking all of you, actually.
Well, how we start is that we, first of all, work very closely with Islington schools. We also work closely with our youth services, our community organisations, because whilst many of you in this room might know exactly what you want to do, in my experience, many more don't. And the idea of coming to an event like this would be quite unusual. So we tap into a vast range of local networks. What we're also just committed to as a council, because I think at this point, we should have all started way back in primary with you all. So one of the things we've just committed to is that we're going to guarantee every young person who goes to school in Islington 100 hours experience of the world of work by the age of 16. And we're going to start that in primary. And that's anything from getting some of these wonderful speakers to come and speak to a primary assembly, all the way through to paid work experience. So it's not a precise answer to your question, but I think the world of work and our experience of it needs to be shared with you from the earliest possible age.
So I actually brought this up internally because I personally thought that not enough was being done. Like I said earlier, I had no idea about this industry and I just stumbled on it. So I know that Havas specifically, just like Andrea said, are starting to work with a lot of schools in the area. And the kind of debate at the moment is, do we go younger? So at 16, you've already kind of chosen your subjects. Do we need to influence you at a younger age? So you've got more exposure to the potential of what you could do, and then kind of nurture you along the way so that you're consistently getting exposure. So it's not something that's been done enough of, but they are starting to do more of it now. And I personally have been quite vocal. I'm just a vocal anyway, but yeah.
I'm hearing a lot about the school. I know you're going to go 2 people down.
Yeah.
I'm hearing a lot about schools and primary schools and not further education. And if I can just say, I know that it's you're trying to do the journey and you're trying to do the value added. But when you get to 16, after you've been at school, you've had a long gap, maturing.
Yeah.
So you don't really know where you might want to be when you're 10, might not be where you want to be when you're 11.
Yeah, it never is it? Yeah.
It never really is. So that's why I'm saying, how are we tapping into the 16 to 18 market? Because when you're 11, you're a different person than when you're 19.
So I think it's really, sorry, yeah.
No, I was going to say that we might just not have the answer to that. And I think that maybe more opinions like the sort of opinions you have, teachers working with us, still schools working with us to kind of tell us, because a lot of us are so far away now, we don't know what's going on. And having that information and knowledge, and you kind of need to coach us a little bit and tell us, I think that goes so far, and it allows us to express, because we actually want to, but it's just no one knows where to start. So I think
good if we could work together.
Yes, yeah. I'll talk to you afterwards.
Yeah. No, so I think that's a great point, and I think we'll all take it home and come back to. But I know we've only got like about 3 minutes left, so should I just see if there's any other students? Yeah, the one over there, please. Yeah.
Hi. I love how candid you all are. Following on from your question, actually, I was wondering, with all these affirmative action schemes and like positive discrimination, how do you feel about that, number one? And then number two is, you were talking before about chronism and nepotism. If no one understands that, that's basically getting places based on who you know, not on how you know. So what are you doing to tackle that? What are your personal and what are your company's views on discrimination, both positive and negative? And then what are your views on the new ways that people are recruiting people? So things like video CVs, or like seeing people first in, or like getting recommendations from, I don't know, like a career company or something before actually seeing them. So what are your views in brief on like positive discrimination, and on nepotism and chronism, and on the new way of recruiting people, essentially?
Right, okay. So, firstly, so with regards to nepotism, unfortunately, it's something that does exist. As an organisation, one of the things that we've tried to do is we used to run an internship programme specifically for people's relatives, sons, daughters, nieces, nephews. What we've now done is scrap that for the time being, and looking at ways in which we can actually work with communities that we operate in. Particularly within construction, we tend to work very closely with the communities that we operate in. So within Camden, we're working closely with the councils, urban partners, all of the organisations that we tend to that are around to offer these opportunities out. So you've also said about positive discrimination. I think it's sometimes a difficult one. You want to offer opportunities to everyone and ensure that you are doing that. For us as an organisation, we look at the underrepresented groups as well as in construction. The percentage of women in the industry is absolutely minute. So in order to kind of combat that and try to improve opportunities, understand why women just don't want to get involved or work in the industry, we work with specific organisations. So Women into Construction, our organisation we work with, Action on Disability organisation we work with. So we tend to work alongside our normal recruitment process, working with these organisations to make sure that when we're advertising opportunities, we're also advertising to these partners as well as, just to make sure that it's kind of a fair playing field for everyone. Everyone understands that you can get involved. And then, sorry, what was the other part of your question as well as?
Views towards that, and then the recruitment process. So even if you do hire those people, as you said, you scrapped that scheme where it's people, chronism, nepotism, essentially.
Yeah.
The recruitment process nowadays, where it's video CVs, you are judging them, no matter how you want to believe it to be, you are judging that person on their exterior. So there will be those unconscious bias whenever you are hiring those people. So how are you trying to combat that? And then how are you trying to combat it with chronism and nepotism? So if someone goes to university, although you may have the schemes where they don't have to go to university, that will still be an issue. You will still choose those people before everyone else. So how are you getting over that? it's hard to get over that.
No,
but how are you
course.
doing it?
For us, we don't, it's kind of a simple, you apply with your CV, but biases always exist, whether it's a video CV, although that's not something we do. You're right. So what we try to do, or what we've tried to do alongside the recruitment process, is actively work with organisations to kind of take a step back, invite them in. So we'll hold open days. We'll try to get people interested as and where possible, and just to support them so that they understand what you need to get your foot in the door. So it's not just if you've gone to university, great, you get a job. It's actually taking a step back and working with these organisations almost through the journey of it, so that they understand when the time comes how they can apply. But I don't know if any of you guys...
Yeah, we were almost running it out.
Yeah.
There's a couple
I just
briefly.
wanted to just quickly say, so we're really committed to running a fair, open and transparent process. I agree with you, things like nepotism, all those things are horrible things, and they stop the best people from getting the right jobs. We're running things like unconscious bias training, we're doing hiring manager checklists, lots of kind of things to equip our hiring managers with the tools that they need to have to actually make those fair decisions. So there's a lot of things that you asked, and I wish there was more time to answer them.
Did you want to? Yeah.
Well, at Camden Council, we want to be an employer of choice, and there's a real, we are under the Equality Act, and we want our employees to reflect the community that we're serving. So we do encourage a lot of residents to apply in terms of, one of our big priorities are like to combat maternal unemployment. So we're a time-wise employer. We offer lots of initiatives to attract mothers into the organisation, like flexible working, things like that. We're also part of Camden Ability, so that's like a little, we've set up a little network with organisations across the borough to kind of target and identify opportunities to encourage those with disabilities or learning disabilities to come into the organisation, whether that's through work experience, apprenticeships. Also, with our graduate scheme, we really encourage our residents to apply as well, and I think most graduate schemes have like that entry requirements as a 2-1. We've reduced that. We've changed that to 2-2 as a minimum requirement to attract a wider pool of candidates. So I mean, there's lots of things that we need to work on. It's never going to be resolved, this age-old issue, but we are trying, and I'm sure Andrea can also agree.
Yeah, very, very similar approaches to Camden.
Yeah.
So what I'd say in addition is, there are some industries that, notwithstanding the kind of roles, fall back on it needs to be a graduate when it really doesn't. One of the typical industries is actually the film industry. And recently, a group of employers who run very, very famous film companies have just set up, and it'll open next September, a sixth form college in Islington to look at very deliberately changing the representation of the film industry behind the camera. So all of those very highly paid technical roles, production roles, this has been set up as a direct industry response to an over-reliance on graduates for effectively non-graduate occupations.
I was just going to say, because you're working with the council, are there any schemes or laws that you feel, well, the council don't do laws, but like any regulations that the council can put in place to make sure that this doesn't actually happen? So you're talking about the film industry, but you're working with the council,
yeah.
So I don't see the proper link with that. So is there anything that the council, because you're working for Camden Council, right?
No, Islington.
Islington Council, sorry about that. Islington Council have put in place to try and make affirmative action like an actual thing, the pros and cons of that, or anything about nepotism and chronism that you've put in place, any new types of recruitment that has been put in place, some way you can do like questionnaires to see where their talents lie. What have you been doing?
We do. We have a care leaver guarantee that care leavers can, if they fit person spec, have a guaranteed interview, particularly for apprenticeships. We do Get Set for Work, which is inviting residents in who have been unemployed into trying out job trials, trying work in a job in the council to see if it suits them, to get them back into working. We very deliberately have set up an employment and a youth employment service in order to target those residents who feel that they have so many barriers to getting a job. So as a council, as an employer, and as a council in terms of providing services, we've set up services in response to the fact that the unemployment rate for BAME residents is a lot lower. You can do really well at school if you come from a BAME and working class background, and you can go to college, but you can still end up doing non-graduate work to a much greater extent. And if you have a disability, then you really, really are facing considerable barriers to getting into a good job. So we've designed some services to address some of those huge challenges, and as an employer, we've also put in place some programs to support that.
So okay, sorry to interrupt, but we're already 10 minutes over the end of the panel. Sorry, did you say there's one briefly at the, one last question very briefly, please, at the back.
Hi, linking to how advertisement can be improved for the youth, I feel like the issue can be quite simply solved, is that the way you're advertising it is it's not accessible for us. You're told for us to go all these links and Google all these names, but we don't know the opportunities which are out there. Therefore, how can we search for something that we don't know? Especially when we're given to go to these websites. I don't know what I'm searching for. I don't know what opportunities are out there. There's loads of social media platforms in which the youth use, but we are not using them to connect with the youth. It's very simple. Go straight to the youth, go into the schools, talk to us. I feel like the issue is very simply solved in this way, and there's the connection between you guys and the youth is not being made because the opportunities are hidden, and we're sent there to go and find them with no support and no knowledge.
I agree.
Okay, guys, we've got to move towards wrap up, but if anybody wants to just briefly come back on that. Do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I just was going to add that I think this type of event tries to kind of target exactly what you mentioned, just being closer to the employers and giving you a chance to meet people face to face. So sometimes you just need to ask questions that will take you closer to what you're interested in. I agree that it's difficult to search something you don't know for, like what to look for, but then the way to do that is kind of start somewhere. Just, think about what you're passionate about. If I'm to ask you now, what would you like to do? What do you like to do at the moment? It doesn't have to be what do you like to do in 5 years from now, right? And start from there. And, social media, Google searches, people around will take you closer to that. But this is definitely an opportunity to meet employers in person and ask those questions, yeah.
So look, I think we better move to wrap up. But hopefully most of the people here are willing to stay around a little bit afterwards. If you want to carry on your discussions, and I think all of the kind of policy points as well that you've made are really important, and I think everyone will think about those and how to respond. But thank you all for coming. I mean, some of the things that came out for me were like, that real importance of part-time jobs and getting work experience, about the idea of developing transferable skills, about the fact that you're not necessarily choosing a career for life. You can sort of develop a whole range of skills and then explore opportunities and change employer or what you do within employers over time. The importance of the people skills and communication as being really important, and the idea of having and showing evidence of passion in what you do as well, alongside communications or formal qualifications as well. So anyway, thanks to the panelists. Thanks to all you for coming. I should say there's one more. Thank you. And there's one more formal masterclass, I think, with Spring and Nature afterwards, if you want to all head to that. And otherwise, enjoy yourself, and thanks for coming, and good luck in your careers.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.